Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Get Lost podcast. We are joined by Cody Grounds. I'm just calling you my brother-in-law from now on. I'm not waiting for you two to get married, so I'm just gonna say brother-in-law. So Cody Grounds is Danielle's boyfriend of like 28 years.
I'm only 26.
Well, that shows how long you guys have been together at this point. And just a super cool guy. The more I get to know Cody, the more I like him. My very first introduction to you, Cody, do you remember that?
Or was it? There was two, actually.
There was two.
No, there was the first
I don't remember which one came first.
So the first one came when I came over with Danielle and like three of her friends to go swim in the pool at night. And you came out fucking screaming. And I'm like, I'm out. See ya. And then Danielle runs over there, like, you just tell her, she's like, Mark, you ruined it. Like, you ruined it.
Yeah.
I have my friends over, and you just ruined it. Now they all want to leave. And so then he goes back inside, and then Danielle's like, we got to be quiet. And it's like, well, this is not
What does
fun.
she normally call you? Danny.
Who is this Danielle character? Everybody.
Hold on. If
you.
you're talking, you got to do
you.
better with the microphone.
Everybody you're talking to knows me as Danny, not Danielle. I don't know what this whole Danielle business is about.
It's Danielle.
But also, you ran like a bitch.
Yeah, I did.
So, yeah, I was going to say, I feel like there's some details.
Well, I did.
So-
I did. I was like, there's some angry guy in that camper that's pissed off. We got to go.
So they were out. I only remember the story, not the event, right? So I remember what I was told about it. But from what I understand, and totally believe everyone that's told me, I must have been inside. I doubt I was sleeping because that's seldom the case.
Were.
But I was
It
doing.
was back when you worked at Dish.
Oh, so I might have been sleeping.
I think
then.
you were sleeping because all the lights were off. Like you were.
Yeah.
It wasn't like how it looks like out there now.
So I heard a ruckus, and instead of keeping my cool, I busted out like a psychopath and I had just said, I'm sure, shut the fuck up or keep it down. And I don't remember Cody running, but Danielle told me he just dipped out.
I jumped out. I jumped. I was on the tramp. I jumped into the pool, jumped out of the pool, and I was like, Danielle, I'm leaving. See ya.
Yeah, well, you came back. So
I wasn't dating her
second
at the
time,
time, though.
the second time I met you, saw you, do you remember?
What was
And
it?
the best part is he wasn't even all hammered. This is just Cody.
Oh, yeah. I do. I saw the pictures. We went camping the night before, and we stayed up late, and then
We as in the kids.
me and Danny and our friends, and we went camping, and this is all before me and Danny were even dating.
Or even like really thinking about dating, right?
We were just friends, and then we went back to her house because it was hot. We came back down from the mountains, and so you roll down your window and you're like, "Holy shit, it's hot down here!" And we went to the pool and we swam for a little bit. And I don't know, I was just laying there and I wanted to take a nap, and I put my hand on my cheek and went like this, and I just remember sleeping for 4 hours and woke up, and I was so hungry, and there was pizza in front of me, and I was like, just.
So
in the back.
by laying down, he means face first on our AstroTurf deck, which is just basically on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no structural like lift to this thing. Just outside. I love it. And then I walk by, I'm like, who
Is this
the
guy?
hell is this? It's like, oh, that's just, I was like, because I assumed you're just wasted.
Oh, yeah.
Right, been there.
But I did. I drank a little bit, but I got up that morning from camping and I went dirt biking by myself. Just hopped. Everyone else is still sleeping. Like I made it a point to go dirt biking, and so that's what I did. It was just one of those weird things where you were just tired and.
Well, and just to find somebody who could sleep the way you do under any circumstance
I remember I was just like this. I was like,
is amazing. It's truly amazing.
yeah.
Man. So,
Remember the third time?
no. What was the third time?
We were up camping, and yeah, we were up.
Oh,
camping.
when I was in love with you?
Oh, you were so in love.
I
You were
love Cody.
And you like lifted up my shirt and you're like, God damn.
Because you would. So Cody is, are you taller than me or just about?
Probably just about.
We're about the same height. Both have beards, but Cody works out. He's adamant exerciser.
Consistency.
Yeah, and when I get drinking, I get a little lovey. I get a little touchy. Very just expressive. And because, were you two?
No, I don't think, were we? Yeah, we were.
Yeah, you were. Because
Yeah,
I
we
was
were.
giving you the business too.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we were chopping wood, weren't we? Or something like that.
No, you took me away from
Yeah, I took
else.
Cody away, and everyone was like, go help Cody. And we weren't even doing anything. I literally was just talking to Cody. But I kept lifting up his shirt and just like, look at these fucking abs. Because it was impressive. I could respect the grind.
Yeah.
And as we both sit here in our gym shorts and shirtless, there's a clear difference.
as he pecks his boob.
Yeah, in the different lifestyles that Cody and I live. Because what do you do for a living right now?
Just construction work. So
And then, but also, months out of the year.
So I guess it would be November through February. I'm in Texas goose guiding.
Goose guiding. How'd you get into that?
So, well, it kind of really all stems back to when my dad took me goose hunting. And I didn't even have my hunting license at the time. I tagged along with him when I was younger. And he would go to all these different places or whatnot on the weekends because he'd always be gone goose hunting on the weekends. And so I'd be like, well, I want to go. And so he finally took me, and then I went every single weekend. I didn't have a hunting license. I was just sitting there in the bushes, like watching them shoot the birds and stuff like that. And then he took me to go get my hunting license. Because you need a hunter's education card. And then you can purchase a hunting license. And so I had to go take that first. And the first day that I got my hunting license, that afternoon we went out and I shot my first goose.
How old were you?
12. It was in 2005. And then I don't know, just ever since then it was just like.
So it went from a curiosity to a hobby.
To a hobby.
And then how long, what was the evolution of that hobby to where you actually got paid to do it?
So the evolution would be, so I did it like on the weekends with my dad all the time. And I remember when I'd be in like sports, and I remember one time we were in Walden, or not Walden, what the heck? We were at Walt Clark, and I was at a wrestling.
Middle school.
Yeah, middle school.
Yep.
And I remember my dad was going goose hunting, and I was at a wrestling tournament, and I was just so, he called me and told me that they killed a limit of birds, and I was so just pissed off.
Because you didn't have a license?
No. This is when I did have my, this is when I was in like 8th grade or something like that, and I was so pissed off that like I wanted to be a part of it. Like I wanted to kill a limit. Like if he killed a limit, that means, well, I think he killed like 12 birds.
I was gonna say,
which means there was probably 50 birds that came in front of him and his buddies, and I could have been shooting.
Yeah.
And I tried so hard to get out of that tournament too. Like I was letting people beat me. I was just like, oh yeah, I'll follow my back. Because once you get disqualified, then you can go home.
You can go.
And I want to go goose hunting. I get my mom to drive me up there, and we can go goose hunting. And like in the hunting industry, they say it's like in the blood.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it. Like it's one of those things that like
natural born hunter.
Yeah, but it's like I have to do it. Like I don't know how to, like I have, like if there's ducks feeding in a cornfield and I know it's going to snow at 11 o'clock, or I can go make $100, I'm going to pick the ducks over $100 every single time. Because I have to, like I cannot not do it. Like just, I don't know. It's just, it's not as bad as it used to be, but it used to be really bad.
So what aspect of it is that gives you that biggest thrill, or that what part of it makes you the most like, yes, I love this?
So when you're like, let's say I don't know, like let's just say it's supposed to snow at 11 o'clock, right? Ducks are going to go feed at 11 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as that snow starts spitting.
AM?
AM. Yeah, AM. You don't hunt them at night. You can only hunt sun up, sundown.
I am not a hunter. I have nothing against hunting. I just never have, so I know very little about it.
Yeah, so let's say it's going to snow at 11 or 2 o'clock, whatever, right? And those ducks, they're going to go feed at 11 o'clock. Like as soon as that snow starts spitting, they get up and they just get in like survival mode, and they want to go, they're just going to go feed, and they're going to go feed, and their whole, like, it's unbelievable how much corn they can fit in just their mouth and their gut, and then they fly back and forth in between feed and water, just going back and forth feeding.
So where are they feeding?
In the cornfields,
Oh, so they just find fields.
Yeah, they just find fields. It's kind of like follow the leader. Like they're birds of habit. So like if they keep hitting the same cornfield every day, they'll just keep going to it as long as there's no pressure behind it.
No kidding.
Like there's no one hunting it or something like that. They'll switch up. Like if, maybe the wind switches pretty hard, it's going out of a different direction, or they run out of food in that field or whatnot. But a lot of times they'll just keep going back to the same field. And so the best part about it, like you were just saying, the best part about it is when you're sitting there, and I mean, they're tiny ants in the sky. I mean, just tiny, and they couldn't get down fast enough. Ducks, that way maybe, 5-6 pounds.
Well, okay, first of all, what are we talking about? Geese or ducks?
Ducks.
Okay, ducks.
Yep, ducks.
Just making sure.
Yeah, ducks. And they can't get down fast enough. Like, I mean, little ants. Like, I mean, little ants in the sky, and they just cup up their wings, and they don't even beat. They just and like, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like,
so
and then they come
will basically stop flying, take their wings in.
Oh, just
and they'll just start nose diving.
Yep, nose dive. Not really nose diving. It's so a bird flaps, and they go like this.
So forward.
Yeah, dude, that's what they're
just bulleting through the
they
sky.
Are. And then,
and
then the way you set up your spread makes them so that they don't shoot over you.
Spread as in what?
Your spread. So your goose spread, your decoys.
Shotgun spread.
No, your goose decoys.
Okay.
So when
you set up the field.
So when you set up your goose decoys, or duck decoys, you set them up in a way so that they don't overshoot you, so that they come in, so that and always make sure that the wind's at your back, so they're having to fight that wind to come in, and they're not having to crawl over you, and then they'll. You make like a little U shape with the decoys, or you make a little pocket. They'll land in there every single time, and they'll land in there every single time, and then they're right in front of you. They're right at your feet. And they're at like 6-7 yards, and you're just kill them, and
right there.
And everyone's waiting for that one shot call. So you tell one person to. There's always one person calling the shot, and so that everyone's online. They're just waiting for it, and you just.
So if you could, so that's how they dive. We brought up a picture of. Well, we were talking about the dive. Kinda. We look up ducks diving towards the ground or something.
Ducks decoying.
So one thing that I always thought was weird is I know as prey, there's survival in numbers. But what about, wouldn't they, because those would be stranger ducks. Like, no, why? You think they wouldn't be welcomed?
No, man. Like, that's the thing, though, is like they love other, like that's why you set out decoys.
Yeah.
Like when you're on a pond or you're.
So why do our ducks have such issues all the time?
Because they're domesticated.
Oh, is that why?
Probably.
So wild ducks.
I mean, wild ducks, they get pissed off. Like if you watch geese and ducks like feed and stuff like that, like there'll be a goose trying to reach over in between this other goose's leg to get food, and it'll turn back around and attack it.
Really?
And then they'll just go their own separate ways, and then they're constantly bickering.
So there's not really teams, so to speak. There's not like flock A and flock B. They don't get along very well.
Like in the early season, they're not really don't get along. But like early season, like September 1st, you can go hunt geese and stuff like that. And I've like experienced like a whole flock comes in and you kill everyone but the mother, and the mother will go land next to its dead baby, and then it'll sit there and hiss, and then eventually it'll fly off or whatever. But it'll sit there and hiss and like. You killed my fucking thing.
Yeah, I bet. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, but then later later on in the season, after they start migrating and they start migrating and stuff, they're all kind of just intertwined. But I mean, I've also like heard of stories where like people have killed banded geese, and it's consecutive numbers on these bands that they attach to their legs. You've seen them in the park and stuff like that. It's a metal band, and they're all banded numbers. So like it's 1048, 522, 56 or something, and then the next one will be 57, 58. And I've heard of people in December killing. There's a flock of geese that comes in, and they kill 6 birds, and it's all consecutive numbers, which means the mom, its babies, its dad, they flew, they migrated together. Yeah, generations.
Wiping out entire generations.
That's my photo right
yeah,
there.
looking at Cody Graham's. Cody Grounds has an Instagram that we'll plug at the end, but takes a lot of very, very cool duck photos.
It's if you keep scrolling, there might be.
So what do you do with when you're personally hunting? What do you do with all the birds and the meat?
So a lot of people get like confused because when you kill like 100 birds, you have 10 people with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the birds are getting, you can only take home 5. Like that's your possession limit. That's what you can take home. So when I take home my birds, I save up the meat for a few days or whatever, and then you just make jerky out of it, and then you have it to eat in the duck blind or whatever, the goose blind.
Or you guys have fed it to the dogs before.
Yeah, or like Emma won't eat or something. You just feed it. Like that's what I did with her when I was in Texas. Like she wouldn't eat because it was like my first year down there, so she was used to going hunting with me, but it's kind of like wake up at 4:30, let's go down the block, let's go hunt. She wasn't used to being in a dog kennel. She wasn't used to hunting every single day in that atmosphere, and so she wasn't familiar with the area, so she didn't really want to eat. And so I just like when I was cleaning the geese, they have like this like tenderloin underneath their breast. It's kind of like a pinkish whitish color, and I just always ripped that off and gave it to her to eat.
Oh, that's cool.
Because she would eat that, and I'm like, well, as long as you're eating something, I mean, it's like. You'll eat when you're hungry, I guess. And then she finally did. Like when she was like, okay, like we're not going back to Colorado.
Yeah. And this is the same Emma that loves to bust in on the podcast from time to time.
Yeah, she's not a hunting dog anymore, but.
So the nice thing about Cody's being with you is now I get to render all that duck fat next season.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Cody talked about that big time. Is one, I accidentally gave away his turkey this year.
Yeah, no, you didn't. I got it. It was good.
Yeah. So another hunter friend of mine, Joe, he brought me a turkey breast, and we had Cody's turkey breast and Joe's turkey breast in the fridge together, and I accidentally smoked.
But they were 2 different breasts because Joe's was a Merriam. So
the type of duck,
type of turkey, and then mine was a Rio, and mine fed on corn, which was in the cornfields out in eastern Colorado. Mm-hmm. That's where it fed, and his fed on sagebrush.
Because it's a mountain bird, right?
Yeah, it's a mountain bird. So I mean, imagine how much food you see on the ground when you're in the mountains. So be a turkey.
Yeah,
it doesn't get the.
So it changes the flavor big time.
It does. It's like eating a whitetail that is out in eastern Colorado that feeds on the cornfields, and then a mule deer that.
What the fuck do I know, man?
And then a mule deer that feeds up in the mountains on sagebrush. You know.
Huh. Well, because I thought.
And they're way more gamier. Like the mule deer that are up there are way more gamier.
Well, isn't it because they also have a lot? It's harder for them to travel, so they're
what
a little tougher, like closer to the mountains. Where because out in the fields,
I mean, I'd assume it'd be hard for them to travel just because of snow and going up and down mountains and stuff, compared to being on flat ground and being like, well, my food's here, my water's here, I'm gonna stay in between these 2 places. You know,
that's true.
And then like in the mountains, it's kind of like, well, the deer's gonna have to, the river's down there, but maybe the food's over these next 2 ridges, but. Huh. I'm not much of a big game hunter myself.
That's my next question. I know you mostly do fowl.
Yeah.
Have you ever hunted big? Anything big?
Just deer. That's it.
Have you gotten a deer?
Yeah.
How many?
Oh, probably 20 or.
Oh, so you're pretty good at it.
Yeah, like every year, every year. Well, no, I'm not really good at it. I'm just really good at shooting a rifle at 300 yards.
A lot of people, they argue that, man, if you get one in your lifetime, you're stellar. Yeah. But then I met you, and Cody's like, yeah, I never don't get something.
Yeah, well, no, like goose hunting and stuff, like there's been very, very, very few times that I've been zeroed, like goose hunting. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I usually at least kill one. Like,
why do you think that is?
It has to do with scouting. I mean, 98% of it's scouting. 99% of it's scouting.
So how do you scout for birds? What's the telltale sign?
Well, you got to find the roost. So once you find the roost,
so like, how do you find the roost?
Okay, so.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to give away everything, that's fine.
No, that's fine.
I'm just fascinated by it.
No. So like to find their. So like when I used to hunt.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you one more time. Yeah. The roost being where they have babies.
No. Okay.
You're talking to a fool.
I have to remind myself. So the roost is their home. That's their house.
That's their house.
This is our roost right here. This house is our roost, right?
This is where we return.
Yes, this is where we return every single day after work. Every time we eat, this is where we return, right? So the birds are the same way. Their roost, which is a lake or a playa of some sort, that is their roost. A playa, like a watershed. Anything with water. So birds roosts are anything with water, but it has to.
And protection.
Yeah, exactly. So like they're not gonna. I've seen birds roost on like little sheet water where it's like up to your ankle before, and I've seen that. But like their actual home is usually on bigger lakes in the big of like Jumbo Reservoir out in eastern Colorado. It's
where they can get away from the shore.
Well, and then the foxes ain't gonna get them and stuff like that. They sit out there in big old rafts. But that's so from there you find that roost.
What are the telltale signs? Just follow them, or
yeah, like I mean, a lot of it's just like windshield time. So just looking on the horizon and just trying to find birds, and see where they're going. A lot of it is like if I was gonna go to a different place. I know that at 11 o'clock, they're going to go to their roost. At 11 or 12 o'clock, they're going to go to the roost. So if I'm driving down the highway and I see birds flying and they're relatively low, I follow them. They're going to their roost.
Yeah.
And I go to that roost. I'll wait till 3 or 4 in the afternoon, whenever it's usually an hour or 2 hours before shooting light, that they'll get up. And then I follow them to where they're going to go feed. And then when I follow them to where they're going to go feed, I have to see how long they're sitting in there. Are they jumping up a lot? Because if they're jumping up a lot, that means that it's hard for them to find food, which means they're not going to be in there for very much longer.
What's jumping up a lot?
So like they'll just jump over each other. So they'll get up and flap and jump over each other.
Gotcha.
But if you find like a feed that that they're really content and they're not jumping a lot, they're not flapping a lot, they're not getting up in huge wads and spinning over the field and landing back down again, like that's really good. Okay. So you look for that. You make sure that they stay there. A term that we use is like putting them to bed. So making sure that they go there, they feed, and when they go feed, they go back to their roost. So it wasn't like, an hour left of daylight and they're still feeding and you take off and say, oh yeah, we're good to hunt. like this looks good. And then you didn't realize that some guy walked in there and shot the birds out of there,
Yeah.
So you put them to bed.
So putting to bed, you'd go back to where they roost to make sure that.
Yep. Yeah. So then, in the sunset, you're literally just looking for black dots, making sure that they're just falling out of the sky into that roost.
Wow.
They made it back. You go wake up in the next morning and, but there's so many variables like the wind, the weather, has so much to do with it. I mean, especially like the wind has so much to do with it.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're on a roost and they fly out, like let's say the last 2 days they've been flying out north, right? Well, they're flying 6 miles. I know that in a 30-mile-an-hour wind, they're not going to make it 6 miles. They're going to stop short somewhere. So where are they going to stop short at? Well, it might be the field that runs into the roost, the wheat field that's right there. They're just going to hop right out of there, right?
Yeah.
So, and then another thing too is there snow along with that? Because is there fog along with that? Because if that's the case, they're going to be jumping all day long. They're going to be jumping from field to field to field to field. They're going to be feeding all day long.
So because it's foggy, they don't fly far. They fly short distances.
They fly short distances, or sometimes they can't even find the field that they were in the day before. Stuff like that.
So there's some real thought that goes into these birds.
Well, and then so I was just explaining the weather and the wind.
Yeah.
So on days like that, like when I'm in Texas, I know that the next day is a 4-mile-an-hour wind. That means there's no wind for the birds to get set up into at all. Like that means that like they're gonna spin your decoy spread, and you kind of just got to shoot them when they come, or it gives them more time for them to pick you out. Because in that wind they get down low, and they get downwind and they get low, and they just crawl right in. They don't even see you because they get so low. They just see all the decoys, so they think they're comfortable.
Because when the wind's high, that's what they do.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But like I was saying, in Texas, I know that it's a 4-mile-an-hour wind, so they're gonna be sky high. I mean, just sky high. I mean, unbelievably high. So it's going to take them forever to work. It means
if there's little wind, they're higher.
Yep. Yeah. Huh. If there's little wind, they're higher. I don't know. Just there's nothing fighting them.
The way they do
and it's not always like that. Like it could be 4-mile-an-hour winds for, 2 weeks, and they'll be medium height. It's always the day after that huge wind where they're just. I think it's because they got their ass kicked in the wind flying 2 feet above the ground, that they're like, hey, I get to be up here and actually get to see where I'm going. And
well, from like an aerodynamics perspective, if you, instead of a bird, have an airplane, I mean, wind is a huge factor to how far you can fly.
Yep.
It is very difficult to fly into the wind. It takes you longer, you go slower. It's just everything about it's more difficult.
Well, and then like think about like an airplane that's gas powered, and think about a bird that's using just its muscles to fly.
Yeah.
So it has a lot to do with it.
Well, and one thing too, and so there's something called ground effect when you're close to the ground. About wings length from the ground. Once you get there, the wind is completely different from literally 8 feet. So 6, 8.
Yeah.
It goes from going from windy to relatively not windy at all towards the ground. And I just wonder if that has anything to do with birds flying low because they're not in the... So when do they fly low the most often? When it's high wind?
Yeah, when it's high wind.
And that makes sense then because they go to where it's less windy so that they have less
But
resistance.
I've also seen it too where like the ground wind's low and up here's not. So they're flying like they normally would and it ain't until they get, whatever how many feet that is, and then they're coming in and all of a sudden the wind's fighting them.
See, I need to show you the website I use for flight planning.
Yeah.
Because it actually breaks down the wind based off of elevation. So you know how fast the wind is going at 500 feet.
Right.
Or 1,000 feet rather than just what the general, weather app or whatever tells you.
Yeah, and the weather app is my friend. Like,
yeah,
I'm checking it and everything's so thought out. So like in Texas when I'm guiding, we have a group every single day.
How big are those groups you typically?
So we have 2 groups every single day. There's me and another guide down there in Texas. There's 2 groups every single day, and those groups are anywhere from 6 to 15 people.
Oh wow.
So like we manage our birds. So like we don't let birds sit in a field no longer than like 4 days, because they'll feed it out. I mean, you're talking 50,000 birds in one field, and the fields are 40 acres, 60. I mean, they're not big at all, and so they're feeding it out. So we try to manage it so that it's like, okay, I'm going here, and I'm gonna hunt these birds. I have these other birds set up for the group of 15 guys because that feed's growing. And if I shoot these ones, they're going to go over there and they're going to follow those birds. They'll be left alone for 2 days. Yeah. They'll think they're safe. And then you go in there with the group of 15 guys and we go and hunt those guys. Plus, on that day, we're going to have a 10-mile-an-hour wind, not a 6-mile-an-hour wind.
Damn.
Or the weather's coming, whatever, everything's just thought out, and then like we hunt cranes and stuff. So like cranes are my best friend when I'm down there late January when we've hunted the same birds, the same 80,000 birds for the last 3 months. And so
that is crazy.
And so January is like when cranes are down there, I love them because like they don't get beat up a lot. There's no one else really hunting them. And
what do you mean by beat up a lot?
They're not getting hunted
by other hunters. Okay.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they're not getting hunted a lot. There's no pressure behind them. And the cranes, they come out and like a typical goose. Like when the roost gets up in the morning or whatever, because they usually come out in like little flocks at a time, like
so do
20, 30 of them.
I mean, you keep saying like 80,000 birds. Like, do these 80,000 birds have the same roost?
Yeah, typically.
That's wild.
Yeah,
man.
there's there's some birds that go to like loaf. So loafing is completely different than roosting. So loafing is what they'll do in the middle of the day. So like the other day at work, right? I was over by this reservoir. And there was wheat fields to the west, and then there was inside the subdivision there was these little ponds, and it was 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And right away I was like, those birds are loafing there. Really? And so what the birds will do is their roost is the lake. They'll go feed in the wheat fields, and then they loaf, this day loaf, on the watershed in the neighborhood.
So is that loaf? So they're just hanging out, loafing around?
Just hanging
out. Is that where the term comes from?
They just loaf around. They just hang out, just clean their feathers.
Kind of like what our ducks do all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they'll do. And then once it's that internal alarm clock says, oh, it's time to feed. Whenever the sun gets to a certain height, or maybe here's also a different thing too. Let's say you don't have a wind in the morning, but you have a wind in the afternoon. You know that those birds are going to get up at 1 o'clock compared to 4 o'clock. So now you got to be set up earlier to
because there's wind, they're like, we gotta start a little earlier today, boys. We're gonna get a hell of a headwind later.
Yeah, a lot.
That is amazing.
Yeah, a lot of it. And then and so but anytime you're hunting water, you're hunting their home. So it's the dumbest hunting ever.
Why?
Because you don't have to try.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, it's like Mark and Lindsay walking into their house that they normally do, and then you
lock and load bitches.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're not waiting for it. Now, if you do that enough times, you're gonna be more self-aware about coming into your house now, right? You're gonna be like, oh, I've seen this. That
makes sense. Yeah.
I've seen this trap once before. But we try, like when I'm down there and you're managing birds, you try not to hunt the roost as much. And and down there we have like 3 or 4 roosts, and these birds kind of day trade sometimes. You know, they'll go from here to there. So there's multiple roosts. So if you shoot them on one, we always make it a point that we get in and we get out. Yeah. So we get in, we go set up at night. Yeah, we get in. We try to be there at like 9 or 10. Wait for a majority of all the birds to go out to feed, because we don't want to drive down there and spook them all up and scare them, and then it just let them do what they do naturally, go out, and then you set up on them, and then when they come back from feeding and you're hunting their home, you shoot them, and down there you're allowed 2 specks. You're allowed 5 dark geese, and 2 of which can be specks.
What's speck?
Speckle belly goose. So it's a white fronted goose. It's just a different species of a goose. And then you're allowed 5 ducks, and then there's different subspecies in those ducks. So like you're only allowed out of those 5 ducks, 2 can be pintail, or 1 can be a pintail now. 2 can be hen mallards. You can shoot 4 drakes, 4 drake mallards.
I mean, there is just no way in hell,
dude.
That they're like, Drake, you know what I mean? No. I've seen y'all pop out of them holes.
So as a guide, that is my job to keep track of what we have killed.
Yeah.
And to tell the people, like, hey, because I'm not shooting, and I'm telling them, hey, we only need 2 more geese. So whoever needs to shoot their last 2 geese, you guys need to shoot. The rest of you guys cannot shoot. Because what ends up happening is if you say you need 2 birds and 4 geese come in, 10 geese come in, everyone shoots. And if you only designate it to 2 people, if you guys miss, we're done. And then a lot of it too is hunting those roosts. Like I was saying, my boss says 12 o'clock we're done. Like unless we're really struggling and we need that extra half an hour, we'll stay out there.
To get
12 o'clock we're done.
So say if some of the clients weren't hitting anything.
Yeah. See, and that's the hard part too, because then you're going through the resource and it's them missing. Like, dude, it's not like you need to go practice shooting. Yeah. But a lot, dude, like down there, the clientele is just.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
like there for the fun of it.
Dude, they don't care. They want to shoot their guns, and you wait to call the shot, and it's
So what do a lot of those guys take their meat home?
Or yeah, all of them do.
Really?
All of them do. So they pay me $4 a bird to clean the birds.
No kidding.
So I'll take, I'll have 100 birds, and I'll clean them in 20 minutes and bag up their meat, and I just made 4 times. Yeah, I made $400.
God dang.
Made $400. Because
you just breast them.
Yeah, I just breast them. So
do any of them ever ask you to not just do the breast?
Yeah, and I tell they asked me to pluck them. Like, oh, can you pluck them?
That will be $7,500.
Yeah, so I tell them $30 a bird.
30? I do more than 30.
Well, because they say no.
Oh,
it's me trying to tell them to say no, and they usually say no because I'm not plucking a bird. Like I'll breast your birds. That's just part of the hunting stuff, and I can do it quick. And down there, my boss, he is a licensed processor, so that allows us to be able to put the names and the tags. Because each day they fill out tags with their birds and stuff like that. Yeah, and they fill them out, and then when we go back, I breast them all out, and I divvy them up, and whatever they killed, and I divvy them up, and they take them home.
I mean, I always wondered, because I tell Joe the same thing. Why only the breast? Is it just too hard to process? It just seems like such a waste.
It is. I mean, I don't think it's a huge waste, but I think it is a waste. I mean, because I feel like I've had some people breast out their birds, and they go after the heart, the liver, the gizzard, and then they take the leg meat and stuff like that. But I think just the main source is on their chest.
Well, because from a chef's perspective, I'm like, all right, so you render out the fat, you got the bones for stock, you got the leg meat, you could pickle the feet. I mean, there's so many things, man. There's so many things.
I don't know how much the clients really want the meat.
And they probably don't. I think it's
because
there's some
of them that are like, well, I don't want it. And I said, well, you shot these birds. I legally cannot take these. You shot these. And I don't want them. Well, you're gonna have to take them, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I legally cannot touch those birds.
Because you're the guide.
Well, just because I didn't shoot them, you shot them.
Well, yeah, there you go.
You shot them. Like if you can gift the meat. Now, if I wanted the meat, you could gift it to me. Yeah. But I don't want the meat. You shot these birds, so now you're just doing this for
killing.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I have a big problem with people that are like that, just like the killing part of it. Like, don't get me wrong, like that's why I do it, because I like to kill them. I like to shoot them. It's a sport, you know, when they're coming in and you call the shot before they land and the ducks kind of all spread out going everywhere. And
well, there's planning, preparation, adrenaline, like timing. That I get 100%. But then also, like you said, you'd use the meat. Either jerky, dog food, at least something.
It'll get used as something.
So the death isn't for nothing.
Yeah, it's not for nothing. Someone or something is consuming that meat for a fuller stomach.
Yeah.
Like that's
cool.
Yeah, like, and I hate the people, like I've like been scouting before and seen, you know, 5 dead geese off the side of the road, and they're in a pile, and it's like they just didn't want them, and I'm like, so why the fuck did you go kill them?
That's just for the sake of killing.
Yeah, and it's bullshit. It's like, even like, dude, you could take the meat, stick it in a freezer, and if you don't have any plans with it, like find someone that wants it.
I promise you, someone's hungry and wants it.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, at least you don't do that. That's good.
No, I would feel horrible.
Well, because really, you know, a lot of what hunters want is to be able to hunt forever. And if it's the bad ones or the more weekend hunters that do shit like that make it that much more difficult. Now, more permits, more inspections, more everything just becomes some jackwazzle wanted to kill instead of actually.
Well, and a lot of that same problem is with landowners too. Like, there's a lot of people that have burnt landowners that ruin it for everyone else. So someone like me that like really appreciates and will tell you thank you a million times and go buy you a case of beer for letting me hunt your property, because I know if you didn't let me hunt your property, I wouldn't have killed these birds, and I would have either been sitting at home or I would have had to go hunt private or public land or something, right? So I'm super appreciative. But then there's those people that are like, oh, the farmer told me not to drive in the field, but it just rained two days straight. I'm gonna go drive in the field and ruin it. And then the farmers is like, no one ever is hunting here again. Or they shoot their cows, they shoot their farm equipment. They
they're bad shots, or they just don't think about it.
No, the bird's flying along the horizon, and right when they call right when they shoot, there's a tractor, and they they bust his windows out.
See, I would be so pissed.
They shoot at their house or whatnot. I mean, whatever it may be, like they're not smart about it.
Well, they're being selfish.
Yeah.
They got what they wanted, but then they didn't take into account the respect for the person who gave them what they wanted.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And I've heard stories of like farmers getting sued because someone trespassed on their land to go hunt, broke their foot, and then sued the landowner.
Yeah.
And it's like, but think about it. Farming is a small community. Everyone knows each other. Like when I was farming at that dairy forever, like he knew so many different people spread across Milliken, Johnstown. And it's like, and if he has a good reputation, he's going through a lawsuit with this hunter guy, whatever. And he tells this guy, and it's like, nah, I don't want no hunters.
Done.
You know,
now Cody Grounds is never.
Yeah. Yeah. So then when you go ask and you're like, yo, dude, like, I will do any, like, whatever your stipulations are, I'll walk the decoys in, I'll do them. Like, I want to hunt. Like,
yeah. And so like a true sportsman, I would say. Yeah. Someone who appreciates it. But it makes it
hard. Makes it super hard. People ruin it a lot. That's why public land is just it's a pain in the ass.
It sucks.
Well, just because that's where everyone results. Or no one wants to put in the effort to go try to kill the birds, but that's when you have nothing else, that's where you go.
Yeah.
You know. But I try not to.
Do public land?
Yeah. Well, I've created a lot of relationships through my hunting years to not have to do that. And I don't have a problem doing it because there's some great public land hunting. Like during the week when no one else is there, like there's some great public land hunting. But on the weekends and stuff, that's when it's
just crazy.
Dude, people shooting at each other because this guy's across the pond and thinks it's a great dude. Because when it's public land, you can set up anywhere.
Yeah.
So like when I first started hunting with my dad,
like on purpose shooting at each other.
Not on purpose, but they want to kill. They want to kill the duck so bad that they just say, "Well, I know they're hiding there in the cattails, but I'll hit the bird, and I won't hit them." And then they get hit by pellets.
What are the chances I'll miss?
Yeah. So, but like when I first started hunting with my dad, we'd hunt public land, and we'd back when my dad was able to get up earlier and stuff like that. And we get up at 3:00 in the morning, we go down to Simpson Ponds, and we would try to cover like just the hugest amount of area that hugest. I know it sounded weird.
You're good. You're good.
And, the most amount of area that we came with these decoys, right? Yeah. And then we'd have like 3 or 4 of us set up acting like those are our decoys. And then when shooting light came around, we would just all come as a group. So it'd keep people away from you, because what they end up doing is they'll set up their 6 decoys literally 10 yards away from you, and they'll this is my decoy spread, right? But they're feeding off of your decoy spread.
Because you have way more.
You have way more. You got out there earlier. You did all the work. You put in the money to buy these decoys. And then there'll be a bird coming in, and they'll just shoot it. Like, you're letting the bird work and come in. And, I mean, 'cause that's like that's what I get out of it is
people
watching
do that.
Yes,
Hell
people do.
No, dude. I'd be like, you need to leave. I will shoot you.
You don't know how many fights and yelling that I heard, like just people like, you mother trucker, you fucked my bird, just yelling back and forth.
Because he got there before. I always hunt here, right? It's
something like that. But like, a lot of people are cool about it. Like, if you show up before them, and the right thing to do is be like, if there's someone in the parking lot, like, hey, where are you set up so I don't set up on you?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm over here. Okay, I'm gonna go this way.
No kidding.
Like, there's like, that's the right thing to do. But there's other people that are like, well, I bought these 6 decoys. I want to go goose hunting, and I'm just going to go set up. This guy's a big enough spread. But when there's a bird circling, I'll shoot it as it comes over me, even though it's going to land in their decoys. They'll still shoot it. And then
that happened to you?
Oh, that's happened to me, dude. I've seen my dad, not me.
Man.
I'm 12, 13 years old hunting with my dad at this time.
Yeah.
And I've seen my dad freak out.
I'd be like, this is my bird.
Yeah, well, that's, dude, in the
or just like blast it so he doesn't get it.
In the amount of like people like fighting, like verbally fighting over a goose, and I'm just like, I would just be like, I mean, it does, because it sucks. You put on that, like, even if you can get one bird, it's like it was a success, but like, just to like have, I don't know, just to get into a verbal argument, it's like, dude, you can have it. Like, if you're that. Like, if you think that bird is yours, you can have it. But people are like, because it's like their trophy, right?
Well, yeah.
But I've seen people set up like same situation. You go duck hunting, probably at Simpson Ponds. Guess where it all happens.
Yeah.
And because it's little ponds, and someone will literally go set up right across from you, and then you have to go out of your way to walk all the way around the pond and say, hey, you know that you're set up. Like, I'm right here, right? Like, you know that we're gonna be shooting at each other.
Yeah.
Oh. I guess I'd go down a little ways, but I mean, it's public land. Oh yeah, it's bad. And I'm not, dude. This is the stupidity behind it. Like
I am borderline at a loss for words, because I'm trying to picture myself in this situation. So be like, hey man, sorry, you must not have saw me. I'm actually set up right across.
Well, you didn't see my decoys, and 4 of us standing here and talking.
And again, benefit of the doubt, right? Walking up super nice, and then them saying something to me like that, I could just see me going.
Well, and the crazy thing is, all of us. Again, that's the crazy thing is, all of us out there all have guns.
Well, that's
but
true
too. But it's
like the Wild West.
Yeah,
man.
like all of us have guns, but I mean, we don't.
Everyone acts right because everyone has guns.
Yeah. Well,
I just solved the gun issue in America.
This all goes back to like your first question about like, well, how did you get into it? So I spent the first 3 or 4 years hunting at Simpson Ponds with my dad, and then like public land. Then he made a connection with some guy that had goose pits, and so a pit is like it's literally a hole in the ground, and over the top you use OSB, and there's little holes cut out, and
camouflage.
Yeah, camouflage, and then over those holes is like where you cut out your hole for yourself. You just stick the little OSB board, you stick it sideways, and you just kind of hide in there and you call and stuff like that. But the birds can't see you. So you can make your spread as big as you want. You're not trying to take all these decoys and hide yourself. You're not trying to get brush. It looks just like the field. And so we did that for like 3 or 4 years, hunting out of that pit. And that's where, like, I don't know, that's just where it like really started for me, like getting into it and stuff. And then he lost that. And so we weren't doing that. It kind of resulted back into going to public land. And at that point,
could you build a pit in public land?
No.
No? It's not allowed?
No, it's not allowed because it's an SWA, so it's state land.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
So a lot of times
it's illegal to dig holes in state property?
Those big of holes, yeah.
I'm gonna go dig a hole.
6 foot hole.
This is Mark's hole.
15 feet long. But then we resulted to go back to public land, and you get to see the motivation my dad lost having to go back, because now when we're hunting our own field, we can go out when we want. We didn't have to fight anyone there. Like, it was all of our hunting, but like, we all took turns. It was great, right? No one was shooting your birds. And so when we went back there, a lot of motivation. He lost a lot of motivation, you could tell, but like the fire was just starting in me, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and meeting the people that I've met, like actually all, like, a majority of my friends are all waterfowl hunters. So then, I don't know. And then social media started, and you're like, hey, where are people killing these birds? And then the curiosity started, like, well, what's beyond this public land, right? So then you start traveling. Well, where are these, like, I'm killing these birds that are coming out of Loveland, and they're traveling out south. Like, where, like, curiosity, well, where are they going? So I followed them one day, and then that's where the whole scouting thing.
Just following birds.
Yeah. Then that's where the whole scouting thing began. Like, where I learned how to scout, and then started knocking on doors and
like strangers.
Yeah, strangers, complete strangers, just walking up to the door and being like, "Hey, like, I have a quick question. You have geese in your field. I don't know if you own it, but I was just looking to hunt tomorrow morning." And like, at first, everyone was like, "Yes," and it was probably because I was 16.
Yeah.
And I had my license,
Younger
so that helped me
yeah.
be able to go scout and stuff too. But I think because I was young, they were like, "Oh yeah, you're cute. You go hunt." And a lot of the same landowners, I always went back to them in the summertime and always made sure that I was able to hunt. Always told them if they needed anything, like, let me know.
You were appreciative of what they were doing.
Because I knew the other option. The other option sucked.
Yeah.
And so, and you were so much more successful being able to manage your own field. You were so much more successful being able to manage your own hunts like that.
Yeah.
And so then that started. And then, I don't know, I think I was like 16, 17 years old, and I was like, I want to guide for a living. Like, this is what I want. Like, I had this ambition my whole entire life. Like, I want to guide because I want to do what I love, and I love waterfowl hunting.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only thing that I am, like, super passionate about in life. That, like, if it's ever stripped away, like, I don't know what life is like without it. Like, I don't know how to, like, I love it.
Because you've known hunting,
yeah.
I mean, longer than you've known anything else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even, like, with it being August and stuff, like, all of a sudden I start seeing birds fly, and then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, September 1st is coming around, it's goosey, and then, like, the internal alarm clock's starting to go, so I'm like, shit, like, it's starting to go, but that's where the whole entire, like, fire started, and then after that, then after high school ended, I was like, well, now I guess it's time to go get a real job, and I went and got a real job with my dad at his company, and it was full time, but it was just as goose season ended, so there was nothing to do. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I don't have to work this bullshit job. Like, I could go work at a retail job and have more time off to hunt than just the weekend.
Yeah.
So then ever since then, I've always positioned myself so that I could hunt. Like, and I have never worked a full-time job year round.
Because
I've never worked a full-time job year round, working 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I've always positioned myself to be able to work 4 days a week and hunt 3. Or I've like, when I worked at the dairy, I'd work in the afternoons so I could hunt in the mornings. Stuff like that, huh?
That's all in the past. Like, you don't do that anymore.
I know, but I'm getting there.
Well, yeah, he's building up to it.
Yeah, and then at the cabinet shop, I'd work 4 days a week, and have 3 days off. When I was doing excavation, at first I'd only work 3 days and have 4 days off to hunt, and then it went up to like 4 days off, or 4 days working, 3 days off. And then, like, the job I have now, like, well, now that I'm guiding, I guess I'm a weekend hunter for like 3 or 4 weeks at the beginning.
When you first started guiding.
Yeah, no, like, so like,
because you're gone for months now.
Yeah. So I guess I should backtrack. So you're pretty lost. So I got
the name of the podcast.
So my buddy Forrest.
Let's pick a time so we can kind of anchor ourselves.
Okay, so this would have been when I was 21. So it's 2016.
Okay.
So 2016 up to this point, I was, positioning myself so I can hunt on the weekends and work as less as possible. Whatever whatever I can do to get shotgun shells and gas money and just be able to pay whatever bills I had. Like, that's all I cared about.
Wow.
And then 2016 came around, and like I got my buddy Forrest, I talked to him, and it's crazy how things work out, but I talked to him like 2 months prior. I guess I would have went down there in November. So September I talked to him, and I was like, hey man, you know anyone that's like looking for a guide or anything? And he's like, no, I don't. A month and a half later, he's like, hey man, there's a scouting job down where I'm working. And when he comes back from Texas, he always talks about how great it is. And it's the bee's knees, right? And at that point, I'm like, but I don't want to scout. Like, that's not like a scouting job is like something I could teach you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to. No,
even you could figure it out.
Danny can figure it out. So, and so I was like, no, like I'm not really sure. And I had, I talked to,
so a scout's different than a guide.
I mean, I do both because I want to scout my.
But initially, your job would have just been scouting.
Yeah, initially my job would have just been scouting. You're going to be in a truck.
No client interaction.
No, so there's no tip money. There's no client interaction. There's nothing. I'm in a truck.
You're doing the shitty part of the job.
Yeah, I'm in a truck every morning, every afternoon. I get to hunt for like an hour in the morning, but I have to be out there to see where the birds are going. And so I'm like, no, like I want to guide. Like that's what I want to do. And I had a previous job offer to go to Oklahoma, and when I went down there, I just went down there on a whim because I was like, well, I've talked to these people over the phone. I should probably go hunt with them for a weekend and see what it's like, you know, and see if it's who I want to work for. No, this is when we're dating.
This is when you're together?
Oh, we were together.
Yeah, like one day I was like, Danny, I'm leaving. See ya.
Like, no joke, and he didn't come back.
I didn't come back. So my plan was to go down to Oklahoma.
So you didn't tell her you were going to Oklahoma though?
No. I told her I was going to Oklahoma. She knew about it in advance.
Later.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go down there for the weekend and see what these guys are like. Well, I was in Oklahoma. I hunted. We had a great time. Killed the birds that we needed to kill. It was, the people were podunk as shit. But I'm like,
I'm sure they were nice.
They were nice enough, but they were just podunk. Like the house, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But it was just, it was. So when I was down there, I was only 4 out. I was on my way home. It was a Sunday, and I literally, if I go right, it's 12 hours back to Colorado. If I go left, it's 4 hours to Texas.
Wow.
And like the great thing
this is where you were hunting.
Yes, in Oklahoma. And the great thing about like hunting for me is like it takes you all around the world. So you can, like, even when we went to Ireland, I'm like, I want to go hunt.
I remember, yeah.
Like, even if I wanted to go to Sweden, like, I can go see Sweden and I get to go do what I love and hunt, right? So I was like, well, I've never been to Texas. And so I called Forrest and I talked to my boss now, and I made sure that he was going to pay me. I made sure everything was like, okay, this is what's happening, this and this and this. Yep, okay. So I drove down to Texas, and I didn't come back for 3 months. I didn't come back for 3 months.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me what you thought was just going to be like a weekend or a long week or whatever turned into a 3-month job?
Yeah, and now a 4-year career.
That is amazing, though. Yeah. Those are the opportunities that change lives, man.
No, and it's 100% because
those decisions right there.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that I was uncomfortable doing because I wasn't getting paid that great.
Comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, and I'm driving through Indian reservations in Oklahoma, like just places I haven't been to, and it's a little nervous, and I don't know who I'm expecting down there or who I'm working for or anything, and so I went down there, and then that's where like the guiding career started.
Yeah.
Like, so I went down there, and I was a scout for the first year, and I did a great job, and I told Forrest that I wanted to run hunts, and I think he told my boss.
Yeah.
So my boss booked a couple more groups, and I think I ran maybe 10 hunts or something, but I made, like, I saw the tip money, right? Yeah. And I'm like, $1,000, and I just ran you guys for one morning. And so then after that, I was like, well, I came back, and I'm like, I'm going to do it again. Now I'm 5 years into it, and now I guide, someone else scouts for me. The money is unbelievable. The clientele is unbelievable. The friendships down there are crazy, like unbelievable as well. And it's one of those things, like you just said, like I constantly look back at it that if I would have just said no, I wouldn't be buying a duplex.
Yeah.
I'd probably be working a 9 to 5. I would hit, there's just so many different
If you would have not taken a risk and been like, this most likely should work out.
That's exactly what I thought, too. This and I always tell myself, I'm like, well, if it doesn't work out, you have your vehicle, you can drive home.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
Home's always there, man.
Yeah.
Taking a chance on yourself,
yeah,
most of the time is one of the best things you can do. Because even if it doesn't work out, you still can survive. And once you know that you're not just made of glass and like, listen, even if this doesn't work out, now I can just keep trying stuff because I'm fine. Like you said, worst case snenario, you just come home.
Yeah.
You were going to die. I mean, unless they
and my boss
pulled a Dick Cheney on you. But I mean, other than that.
My boss.
You ever had anybody Cheney anybody else?
So my first year going down to Texas.
So Dick Cheney, sorry. He accidentally blasted somebody he was hunting with. Killed him, didn't he?
No, I think he just put a lot of pellets in the backside of that guy. I'm pretty sure.
I think he killed him. I think, but anyway, we'll look that up. But.
So going like dove season down there in Texas is unbelievable. Like the amount of Texans that love dove hunting is crazy. But I went dove hunting, or I was guiding dove hunts, and it's really just adult supervision for these dove hunters and stuff. You get them set out around the perimeter of the field and stuff. But there's dove hunters that think they can do the same thing, and they go and they just like
same thing as what?
Like the same thing as the public land hunting. Like they're just like, well, I'm gonna like we're in this giant field, so I'm gonna go in the middle of it, and around this whole entire perimeter of this field is trees. So everyone's shooting like this.
From the trees.
And so and everyone's shooting
at the guys in the middle.
Yeah, just dumb. And so there was one guy that my buddy Derek down there, he said that this son shot his father. And the funny part about it is the guy was being a complete asshole to Derek, and Derek was about to tell him to pack up his shit up and leave, and then his son shot him. Yeah, with 7-shot bird shot. Yeah, bird shot.
Oh my
God. Just smoked him. But it didn't kill him.
So Dick Cheney didn't kill him.
No, but it's the same concept. Yeah.
How was the guy? That got shot.
Yeah, he had to go to the hospital.
Damn, man.
Little small hospital where I work and stuff, but he was fine. Back to Danny's thing about the dog, right? Being in the kennel. Emma, so none of the other dogs could go out because they would just venture off.
Hold on, this isn't a true start. So we had to take a little break. We are now talking about Cody bringing his dog Emma down to Texas after her and Danielle were together and Emma hadn't been hunting for a while.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right, yeah. So I took Emma down to Texas, and she was not used to kennels at all. She was not used to kennels. Like, she hated the idea of it, right? But all the dogs had to stay in kennels. So when I'm down there, all the dogs stay outside. They are not allowed inside. So, like, they have little huts, little igloos that they sleep in at night and stuff like that. And Emma wasn't a fan of that. I tried putting her in my truck, and that worked for a couple weeks. And then I go out, and my front seat is tore up because she's scratching at the seat. Nice. And I was like, nope, like, you lost your privilege. You're out in the kennel. And I told Danny, like, hey, Emma's been in the kennel and she didn't like it. She got used to it after a while, but so like during the middle of the day, my dog wouldn't run away. All the rest of the guys' dogs would run away. So I'd let Emma out in the front lawn, and she would just sit there and sunbathe in the front lawn the whole morning. I could go inside and go to sleep and not come out for 4 hours, and she's just sitting there.
That's crazy.
She would watch everyone else come out that door. Because she'd hear the screen door open, she'd watch everyone else come out that door. And if I didn't come out, she would just sit there and wait for me. And then when I came out, she was like, okay, I guess it's time to go scout, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, she wouldn't run off or anything. It was awesome.
Yeah, there's no way. I love my dog.
And my dog was the only one that didn't have a shot collar on.
Yeah.
My dog was just verbal commands like, sit, lay down.
Man.
Theirs was like, zap.
Listen. See, and that's why I don't know why you wouldn't take a trained dog. Hunting? Like, until it's trained, I really feel that's just dangerous for the dog.
It's super dangerous for the dog, like, to go hunting and stuff like that. Like, and it's annoying. It's super because they ruin so many hunts. The dog runs out or doesn't come back when it's supposed to, blows out the birds, or even the dog jumps in front of the guns. Like, there's a guy I work with where his dog leaps over people while they're shooting because it breaks. So I knew Emma broke, and for the clients to have a break. So as soon as you called the shot, or as soon as the shot went off or shots went off at the birds. Like when you're shooting, they just take off running.
Oh, wow.
And so, like I said, the one guy, his dog would do that, but it would leap over people as they're shooting. And it's a good way for a dog to get
after the first shot, but there's like 8 other people.
There's 8 guys with guns. There's 8 guys with guns pointed up in the air, and the dog's leaping over everyone. It's just, and the clients look back like, what the, Yeah. So my dog, I was like, I'm not dumb, so I tied Em up to a leash, and she would break. First couple goes, and after that, she realized she was on a leash, and so she'd wait for me to let her go. But I would, after we got done shooting, I would let her go, and I'd let her go pick up the birds.
That's crazy, because she's terrified of sounds.
Yep, you can shoot a shotgun right next to her ear. She could be right here, and boom, doesn't care.
But then if the Roomba goes off, the little beep makes her try to dig to China through the carpet.
Yeah, she's weird.
That is wild. That's a very different thing. So I really also want to touch on how hunting made you an Instagram model. Maybe not Instagram model, but he's I don't know what Insta famous, but Cody Grounds at Instagram.net or I don't know. Look up Cody Cody _Grounds on Instagram, and you will see some freaking unbelievable waterfowl pictures, as well as you post some of your other stuff on there too, though, right?
No, this is just strictly waterfowl photography. This is it. So it's the whole reason. So
they're just amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. It's a lot of years of hard. I don't know. Just it's learning. Learning how to take pictures, because it's an actual art, and you got to have the eye for it, and you also have to have the eye for editing as well. And the photography started because my buddy Austin got a camera, and he got it to take photos of birds like you see on my Instagram coming in and stuff like that. Well, at the time I got a camera, I think like the year after.
When abouts was this?
This would have been like 14 or something like that, 2014 or something. But I got it because I had a Samsung phone, and literally a week into it, I dropped on the ground, rock went right through the camera. And like for me, like having the hero pictures, which is like the kill pile pictures, was like a big deal to me. Like I had to have like the proof of what I shot. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to go buy a $500 camera, and I can also do this if I'm really into it. Right. Well, I went and got the camera, and then it just took off. Like all of a sudden I'm like, well, I could take pictures of birds coming in. I could take pictures of dogs picking up birds. I can take pictures of anything, right? Like while I'm hunting. And then then I started following more people on Instagram that I idolize, as
like
far
other
as
hunters,
other
photographers.
Hunter photographers. So they do the same thing. They waterfowl hunt, and that like killing, being a killer in the sense of hunting, like killing animals is above photography or anything else for me. Above like photography. Like I don't ever pick photography over going and hunting birds.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hunting is more important than photography.
Yeah, having my tools sharpened as far as a killer is more important to me than
hunter.
Yeah.
I'd say hunter.
In the hunting world, we call it killer. And so that just took off, and then I got more into it, started taking more pictures.
In your Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, and then, so then I started posting the pictures on Instagram because the people I idolized did it. And I'm like, I want to try to recapture that photo. I want to try to recapture this photo. And then it came along with just being a guru about like, well, why does this camera, different types of cameras do this? And then here, other photographers are using Lightroom. So like, I got to get Lightroom, and then I got a better computer. And then it kind of just all elevated from there. And then with the great photos came with people acknowledging it on Instagram and them wanting to follow me because of my content that I produce. So I don't know. It's
so you just the idea with the Instagram wasn't to get famous.
No,
it
wasn't.
Wanted to show off what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same reason today as it stands. Like I may have 20,000 followers, but that I don't give a shit whether it's 20 or 1,000. I just want to show off the pictures. It's a place for me to show off the pictures that I've created.
Yeah. It's your art gallery.
Yeah, it's my online portfolio in a sense. So, but it's I don't know. I love it. It's a great one. And then other people acknowledge it too. They're like, it's I don't know, good self-esteem place where they're like, good job, great photo. And it's weird because usually the photos that I think are the greatest are the ones that people don't really say anything. And the other photos that I think are just blah, they oh my God, it's so cool. I'm like, yeah.
Do you have a particular photo?
Yes.
That is your all-time. Is it this one?
Well,
on
and
the wall here?
I didn't even take it. I didn't even take it.
Well, okay.
No, but that is my all-time favorite. That guy down in that guy down in Texas that I first started working with, Forrest. He took that photo. That's up on our wall here.
Yeah, so we got a picture of, it's a canvas one, right?
Yeah.
So we got a canvas picture of Emma picking up a bird. It's just very cool.
It has a lot of emotion. It has a lot of story behind it. Yeah.
It really does. It's got Cody in the background, a decoy. It really just perfectly kind of epitomizes.
A banded speckle belly. See the band on his leg?
Yeah, he's band there.
Banded,
speckled belly. Yeah.
So those bands are like trophies. So like when you kill one, it's like a trophy. Like you stick it on your lanyard, you know.
Yeah.
And in the hunting world, even though for me, it doesn't mean shit. You could have 1 million of those things on your lanyard, and I don't think you're a better hunter. But other hunters, when they look at your lanyard, that's what they look at, and they're like, oh, this guy's the world's best hunter because he has all those leg bands on his. But
isn't the band just means they were captured once and cataloged?
It is a psychological, stupid thing that hunters have. I mean, I was part of it. Like, when I saw someone with a full lanyard back when I was younger, I'm like, this guy knows how to kill birds. This guy's the best hunter in the world, right? I got to hang out with this guy. And
it's really just luck, though.
It really is. Well, and not only just that, but when you're hunting with a group of guys, like, you draw for it. So, like, you'll stick shotgun shells in a hat, and there'll be one red one, and the rest will be black. And if you get the red one, it's yours. You might have not even shot it.
Oh, the band, you mean?
Yeah, the band, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Geez. Well, because the part that's kind of funny to me is the scientists managed to do that while it was alive. You guys had to kill it to get the band back.
No, but that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point of the band. So the point of them banning birds is for us hunters to harvest them and give them that information back. So
oh, really?
Yeah. So the banning projects, like, so speckle bellies, lesser Canadas, snow geese, a lot of ducks, they all go up north to go mate, you know? Mm-hmm. And that happens, you know, May, June, July, not really so much in August because they're already starting to fly by now, but happens in the summer months, and they go up there when they're molting. So when birds can't fly, when their flight feathers are falling out and they're getting new ones, their body's, you know, kind of shedding those feathers, they go up there and they capture them with nets. They have rocket nets, so like ducks will be swimming up to this corn pile and having a good time, and all of a sudden they'll just be this huge rocket net shot over, and they capture all these birds, and they band all the birds, they sex them, so they tell them they're female, male. They can usually tell how old they are. If a lot of them will be with their moms and dads, so there'll be a bunch of little babies. So they'll be like, this bird was banded as an adult. So that means when they captured it, it could have been 14 years old when it was banded.
Gotcha.
But then there's some certificates.
14?
Yeah, like it could. Yeah, I shot a banded Canada lesser that was 22 years old.
22-year-old bird.
Yeah, it was.
How long do they live? Like, what's an old bird?
So I don't know. I mean, I've heard of the oldest Canada goose band ever being shot was 32 years old, and that's on a large Canada. So
we gotta get a goose, man.
And
that
then
bitch would be us for the rest of our lives.
Ducks were the same way. Ducks. The oldest one I think was shot was 35.
Ducks are 5 to 10 years.
All right. So most common garden birds have an average age of between 2 and 5 years. However, the maximum lifespan recorded for any of these birds is much higher. For example, the average age of a blue tit is 2.7, but the oldest recorded was 21 years old. So in other words, we don't fucking know.
No. And that's the thing is you don't know. Like we
don't know, man.
You don't know, but the cool, like the maps that they can create with those banded birds, like when you report that banded bird back, like one of my buddies in Texas shot one from Greenland. shot a banded Ross goose from Greenland.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that bird flew all the way down. Like, and just think about all that it saw. They throw collars on the birds too, and the collars, some of them are colored. So like a lot of the ones we have in Texas are red, and they go on speckle bellies. And the collars are just so that like biologists, when they're off the road and they see a speckle belly feed or wherever they're at that time, they look with the spotting scope and they see the collar and it says XYZ. And then they type in XYZ and they say, this bird was reported in Arkansas.
Yeah.
You know, and then let's say I see it, but I'm in Mexico. I can report it in Mexico. And so then at that, you can say, okay, that bird was banded here and it was reported here, here, here. And then all of a sudden you just see, it's weird how the maps work, man, but you could see a bird go back north for some stupid reason, nonstop flight for 27 hours and land and then pick up a day later and fly all the way back. Like there's some of the speckle bellies that there's a biologist that stays at our lodge down there because he bans the speckle bellies. So we give him access to our lakes and he goes down and rocket nets them the same way I was telling you with corn and stuff. And he was showing us maps and there was a bird that went, I don't know what it was as far as, it was a short amount of time, but I don't know. It was a really short amount of time, but I don't know how many days it was, but it flew from where I work in Texas. It went all the way to Arkansas, went from Arkansas all the way to the Yucatan Peninsula, then stayed down there for like less than 24 hours and flew all the way back to where we hunt. Like just for no reason. Like I asked him, like, why? Was there a cold front or something? He's like, no, just for no reason. And then there's some where they're there. There was a neck collar that was there and it flew down, or it was sitting in the field. It would go out and feed in the same field every day, all goose season long. And we never hunted that field.
So just by luck.
Yeah. But a lot of the way that they get those, a lot of the, I guess a detail that I'm missing is a lot of the way that they get those,
information?
The information for the maps is they have transmitters on them. So like, so on the collar, they have a solar panel. The solar panel is like $3,500, just the collar is, but they put them on those birds and that's how they get that information back. And like ducks, they put backpacks on them. So they stick like little solar panels on they call them backpacks. Yeah. Cause it wraps around their wings and it's embedded in their back. And that's how they get, and there's a little antenna on the back of and they fly, and that's how they get information. And then like kind of the old school information is throwing a band on their leg and wait till a hunter shoots it. And then all the only information you have at that time, if it's just a leg band, is that it was banded this date and time at this place, and it was shot at this date and time. So that 22-year-old lesser Canada that I shot was banded in Nunavut, Canada in 1998 and died this time in Texas.
2008.
2018 or something, 2019.
That would be 10 years, dumbass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the whole point though?
It's just
like why do we track and shoot them with rockets and all the other stuff?
The biggest reason we do it is to see the bird numbers and how the hunting population
is affecting
it. So my hunting, like in Texas, we're only allowed 2 specks. Well, that is because they can't get good information on those speckle bellies because they go to the North Slope of Alaska, and their banning projects are right before like literally the North Pole, because you can't get to the North Slope of Alaska unless it's frozen, like all those oil rigs and stuff. So those speckle bellies go way, 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 way north where you can't get out. Well, and you can't get the human resources. It takes dozens of people to
do an expedition.
Well, and dozens of volunteers to fly an airplane back there. Who knows how long you're going to be back there? You have to round up all these birds. You have to you have to have all this equipment with you to do this project. And so like the birds that I shoot down there and the bands that I get, they're from North Slope of Alaska, but kind of on the south end of it where humans can get to. And it's easier because the government gives them money to do this. The government gives them money to do this, but the rest of it's volunteer work.
Yeah.
The biologist gets the money, but it's all volunteer work. And that's one thing as a waterfowl hunter that I have not done that I really, really want to do.
Contribute to that.
Well, I just want to be I want to be a volunteer and do the banding project.
I think Mike Rowe did it on a dirty job.
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah, they had the nets and the rockets.
Well, just imagine like the most desolate part of Alaska, but
But the birds
imagine
couldn't
there's
fly.
not an imaginary line in between Alaska and Canada. Stretch that whole, and stretch that across like none of it and stuff. Like it's just you fly in an airplane in there and like that's all. You're in the middle of nowhere. There's no McDonald's. There's no town. There's Eskimos. I mean that's
eating seals.
Yeah, but then there's also like local banded projects. So like the geese that you see on the front range here at your park, those were transplanted here. Those were not ever here. The reason they're here is to create an opportunity for hunters to go out and have an early season goose hunt before the actual season starts. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not
There's
kidding
these roving black vans just taking geese and transplanting them to the kill chamber?
No, so it's like a.
I mean, sure as hell sounds like it.
So I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming some person's
rocket nets are involved.
Some person's up in Saskatchewan and they rob a goose's egg or a nest. They take their eggs, and I mean this is kind of how it started or whatever. Because now you can raise those birds and create birds like crazy right now, but I'm assuming that's what they did, and they took the eggs, they hatched them, and then they raised them, they could fly, and they left them, and they just transplanted them into a park. Now that's their home, that's their home, and that's all they know is home. That's why there's park geese. Huh. And don't get me wrong, there's some.
So you're talking about like down in, where's the one with the train? Sculpture Park?
Yeah, those are all transplanted. Those are not.
Someone just stole babies and put them in there, huh?
Yeah, and they're called moffat geese. So like there's subspecies inside.
Why don't the other birds land in those?
They do.
People?
You mean like wild bird?
Like why don't other birds roost there? Why did it take baby stealing to do it?
Well, because all the birds go north to go like it's internally.
Oh, these ones don't?
Internally, no. These birds just stay here. Like they just stay. That's why they're park geese. They just stay here. And don't get me wrong. Like there is some like wild birds that are like shit. I don't have to fly 2,000 miles. Yeah, I'm gonna stay here.
They figure it out.
Yeah, but like all your transplanted birds, or all your local birds are all transplanted. Huh. They're all
who's transplanting these birds?
Biologists. So like there's a
working for who?
The government.
Of course.
I knew it.
US. They're all
USGS.
Out.
They work for USGS because that's where you report
the Geological Survey.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Or ain't center.
No, but they do like rocks and shit like that. They do all kinds of things.
And birds.
Yeah, but I mean it's amazing what they. But like your birds in Canada are not, or your birds in your park are transplanted. Those were never ever meant to be here. They were never just wild birds sitting there like they were. And then they ban those as well, and they ban those, and you go and shoot them, and that's how they tell their local population. So then they set their dates. Huh. So that's one thing I forgot. So the reason they ban the birds is to set dates. So they set the dates for how many birds you can shoot that season. So if there's a huge kill off, a huge die off, well now in this flyway you can only shoot three ducks, or you can only shoot 3 geese.
Then they dictate.
Yeah, they dictate. So yeah, that's what the ban's for. So that when you report it, it says, okay, yes, there's there's less die-offs, natural cause deaths. We can, we can bump the bird limit up 1 limit. Huh. So like when I started, it was only 3 birds a limit, or 3 birds per person. Then it went to 4. Now it's been at 5 ever since I can remember.
Conservation.
Yeah, conservation. But it seems like you can't kill enough of them, because you can kill 10 of them. You can still kill 10 geese, and you can kill 8 Canadas, 2 specks in Oklahoma, and like is
Oklahoma the bird or the state?
Oklahoma's the state. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but it's different. It does. I don't know. They repopulate like crazy.
Huh. Well, Cody, this has been an awesome.
Yeah.
I've learned so much.
I can keep going.
I know you
Just
can,
keep
but I
asking
can't
questions.
because I got somewhere to go. But you're coming back though.
Okay.
Me and Cody have so many things to talk about, but clearly if we get on a good subject, Cody can go for a long time.
I can talk your fucking ear
Dude's
off.
got knowledge for days. So if you'll have us, we'll definitely have you back.
Okay.
Right? So we gotta wrap her up. So typically we say, if you got any final words, but I don't know if we have time for that. No, just kidding. If you got any final words, anything you want to pimp out, I mean, obviously Instagram, we'll put his link to his Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Got anything you want to say?
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. So, and for all of you guys, thanks for listening. So until next time, we'll see you.
See you.